if I asked you, what do you want to do next year? Now, let's just assume you're going to do what you're good at. Where would you be doing it, or what would you be doing next year if you could, if you had a magic wand?
If I could be doing what I do well next year, where would I be doing it? I'd like to do it locally. I don't have a specific company in mind, but I've worked with a lot of people in a lot of different locations over the years. And one of the blessings of the pandemic of being able to work online a little bit more, teach online, consult with people online, has meant that I've broadened my network and worked with people in many different countries and all over the nation, and really all over the continent here. I think that's cool, but I would love to find some smaller companies around here that want to understand their customers a little bit more. They want to think about changing their approach in some kind of way, and learning, right, from their customers and from what they're doing, so that they can improve the space around us a little bit more. And I think that would just be really, really cool and really valuable. I've done that in pieces only since I left my last consultancy, which was local, and I was working with more local companies. And I just, every time I have one of those opportunities, I feel really lifted up, right? Not that I won't take work from, somewhere else further away. I just feel like I get that connection, and I can promote the company more because I've been there. And I know that the stuff that I'm doing is affecting people's livelihoods in my neighborhood, right? And the way that they show up to work and why they want to work there. And I love to bring that to more people around here. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think you said the word that was on the tip of my tongue, which was small. But I don't just mean small companies. I want to be a little more narrow, let's say. Probably is a better word. I'd like to work on something specific, a real product and service that's got a trajectory, that's got a use case, that's or maybe thinks it has a use case. Actually, that'd be even better, where I can talk to real people and build something. And it would be great if that product was tangible. Doesn't have to be physical, but if it was tangible. Because I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of time over the years trying to fit, square pegs in round holes, and like to apply some of these concepts to work that it is not meant naturally to apply to. It can be useful. And I just want to get out, run experiments, talk to customers, get feedback, and help people build a cooler thing. And I'm very broad on what I think is cool. It doesn't have to be some new e-motorcycle or a new fancy tech or geeky thing. I mean, it could be something like a tool or a service or an app or a product, but like something like narrow, I think, is the word that keeps coming to mind for me.
You want to start one of these products, or do you want to go work with a group who's maybe got another idea and join with their product?
Could be. I was talking to our mutual friend Sarah recently, and I have a few people that I know who have successful track records of creating products. They have current products that are in different stages of development, and I would love to help make those better, make those more likely to be a hero product instead of a zero product. And the thing that I was talking to her about is many people, when they have some modicum of success, they don't become arrogant, but it reinforces, well, I just have to do what I did before and I'm going to get the same outcome. Or I don't need help. I look at all I've accomplished. But that is so fleeting these days. And there is no guarantee of a future success just based on prior success. We talked about it's very difficult to convince someone that you can help them or that they need help even, or to even create an openness for, could we talk about if I could help? Because just admitting you need help in any shape or form is a bridge too far for many people, especially successful people.
They see that potential sign of weakness kind of thing, and then, that'll damage my reputation. What will actually damage your reputation is not adapting and thinking that you can just plow your way through.
Yeah.
when everything around you has changed.
One thing I've noticed, and pardon me if this sounds, I don't know, arrogant or rude or whatever, but when you're bootstrapping something, when you're building something, people are normally very quick to help you, especially friends, family, people in your immediate circles, because they know you need help, because they see all the effort you're putting in, the time you're putting in to build stuff, and like you're in the trenches, you're bootstrapping stuff. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I think when companies get really big and really successful, they have a lot of money and they know they need help because they have huge problems. So they know that it costs a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of effort to solve those. But in the middle ground, especially towards kind of the bottom end of that spectrum, where you've got some amount of success, but you don't have the deep pockets, the 500 employees and all that to solve your problems the way those organizations do, but you're also no longer in the living paycheck to paycheck, hoping that you can exist for another month. That's a chasm between where people are like, well, I can't help you. You're successful, or you look comfortable, or you know what you're doing. And I find that to be a lonely space. I try and fall not into. I try and be the exact opposite of kind of what you were describing. Like I'm very vocal, and people like, I need help. There's a bunch of things that I don't know that I should be doing, or that I'm making mistakes on, and all that. So I try and be very humble and help other people as well. People like some of the groups you and I are a part of.
I think in that vein too, having a few wells you can go back to. I would say one, but the well can go dry. But having a network of people that you can engage with that are just enough outside to look not at the problem that you're looking at, right? And see it in a different way, and look at maybe there's some data or a pattern that is blindingly obvious to them that you just never would have picked up on. And, like that's the thing that AI is supposed to be good at, right? Like AI, I was just reading about AI weather models last night, and, training on data that maybe it can find patterns that the models that were created by experts just never accounted for before. And that's interesting, right? Yeah, there's people that you need to engage with. Sometimes it's friends. Sometimes it's former business partners, right? Who have gone on to do something else. Like just because they decided to do that doesn't mean that they hate you. Unless they're like, I'm leaving because I hate you. That whole, maintaining relationships, good ones with people who you used to work with, just because they went off to go and do something else. Awesome. Go cheer them for that and connect, right? Because they might see something different. And maybe even having a few people that you consult with, right? That you reach out to and say like, hey, I need you to come in here, take a look at things, right? People like you, I don't know, you and me, I think we look at a lot of systems things too, right? And what I loved about consulting my whole career is that I have a variety of skills. It was started in software, and I moved it to people, but it still looked around, what's the system of interactions that are going on here? What's the goal that we're trying to get to? And let me apply my skills to your domain and your problem, right? Because you're two in it. And you're in that lonely space of, I'm successful enough that nobody else knows what's going on, but yet I'm not big enough to really deal with these things. Who can you turn to? Sometimes it's going to take a little bit of money to work with someone like us. And sometimes you've got, like our group of 4 friends that are just like, we help and support each other and can bounce these different ideas off it. And thankfully do it enough for each other that we don't have to start sending out invoices.
Well, absolutely. And that's maybe even a better answer to the question you asked me about, like, what would my answer be to what would I like to be doing, is there's someone else that I met in my personal life that I am talking to, and my offer to them is, I love your product. I am a raving fan. I'm one of your 1,000 raving fans. I think your product is so good that it should be in a bunch of big box retail stores. It should be on parking lots of businesses in my town. And I think it should go and could go from a niche product with a very narrow market segment to a very, very broad consumer product. And the owner of that company, who's been there 30 plus years, said, I absolutely agree with you. We just don't know how to get there. And even though they're a multi-million dollar company, they don't have the deep pockets to bring in the M&A folks and the high level consultants to do this that they think they need to do to go from that level. And I said, well, would you be willing to let me try for nothing? They're like, what do you mean nothing? I go, what if I gave you the equivalent of $10,000 to $20,000 in consulting and what I do to just see if there's nothing? The only investment you got to make is time. And they're like, well, what do you want? I go, honestly, I want two things. I want a kick-ass experience. If this works, I want the story. Like, I want to be like in Hamilton and be like, I was in the room when it happened. And I want to write a white paper with you. I want to get some marketing. I want you to tell your friends and colleagues and other businesses like you, like, hey, it didn't cost me $1 million to one of the big consulting firms. I didn't have to buy a $900 an hour M&A specialist to help me do this. We were able to do it with a series of small incremental things over 6 months. Okay. That again, honestly, dream scenario for me. And I think just to wrap us up, whether it's what you and I want to do or how consumers buy, because we've been talking about a lot about how consumers buy. If you think about Aristotle, he talks about pathos, logos, and ethos, buying with your head, your heart, and your credibility. Head, cred, heart. And I think most of us will let one of those things guide the other ones. For consumers, there's also kind of those wallet buyers, just like, I'm going to buy strictly on price. Head is logic. Like, maybe I'm going to pay more. Maybe I'm going to do this because of this. Credibility is social proof. Like, one of the things I think you and I talk about in the circles we go in is when I get together, it's like, oh, you need to hire this person? Me too. Who have you worked with that you like? Who would you recommend? What tool would you recommend that I like? You and I talk about microphones and gear and software tools and hardware tools and all this. Like, I think that peer-to-peer credibility and shared knowledge is important. And then the hard aspect is like finding your purpose, buying a product that you believe in, the mission, like we were talking earlier about handcrafted things, or a company whose goals you believe in, or an ecosystem. Those are all kind of ways of an emotional connection to either a purchase or a customer.
To wrap this up on my side too, I think we've been talking with people a lot here recently, all these little segments, delivering them out at a time when there is a lot of pressure on their minds and their wallets, and the desire to consume, and the overconsumption that they maybe have to deal with. There's times on the heartstrings, family and spirituality, that are all pulling people in certain kinds of directions there too. And there's things that they maybe do just because they saw, well, actually that looks really cool, I want to be part of that. They find that credibility thing there too. And my suggestion to all of them is just listen to those stories, pause, listen to another one of them, then choose. What do you want to go do? Hi, everyone. I'm Rich Visotsky. Join Jim Sammons and I for our 12 days of holiday-themed conversations. Subscribe now and tune back in for tomorrow's episode.